Hey everyone, so welcome to today's lesson, and in today's lesson we are working with lesson 1-4. In this lesson we're going to be going back to the distributive property but also combining like terms. So let's look at our objectives. Today we are going to apply the distributive property and our knowledge of combining like terms to simplify an expression or expressions. Our language objectives are to explain, we're always explaining in our own words, the process we use to simplify more challenging expressions. So let's take a look at our do now. So let's take a quick look at our do now for today. Today we're answering the following and we need to simplify each. So I want you guys to pause this video and try all three on your own. And when you unpause, hopefully we get the same exact answers. Okay, so this is what you should have got. For number one, we're distributing. So we're taking that 3 multiplying by n, giving us a 3n, taking the 3 multiplying with the positive 5, giving us a positive 15. For number two, same kind of process, right? We're multiplying the negative 3 to everything. The only thing I should be very careful with is when I multiply those two together. Negative 3 times negative 3 gives us a positive 9. And for number three, what we're going back to is combining like terms. So I had to combine those two values, and I suggest you guys do this on the calculator, giving me an 11/4 x minus 5. So our thinking for today, how do we use the distributive property and combining like terms? So we're doing both those things in this lesson. So let's just take a quick look back at the distributive property. The distributive property states that you can multiply a sum or difference by multiplying each term separately and then adding or subtracting the product. So if we are dealing with distributive property and we have three real numbers, A, B, and C, then what we could do is take that A and multiply it with everything inside. Same thing if I'm dealing with subtraction. A times B, A times C. If I am looking back at combining like terms are terms whose variables and exponents are the same. If I have the same exponent and the same variable, I can combine them. And I put down the steps that we used in the previous lesson. So let's take a look at our example 1. Okay, so for example 1, we're going to be using our knowledge of the distributive property and combining like terms. We're going to express in simplest form, and this is considered our level 1. So this is the easiest types of questions that we're going to be dealing with. So let's take a look. First thing I see, or I'm going to highlight, is my distribution. I'm highlighting that distribution because that's the first thing I want to do. So I'm going to take that 3, multiply with everything inside. So we have 3 times n plus 3 times 3. What happens with that 2? That 2 is going to be dropped down. And I'm going to highlight this. This is what I'm still working with. So I have 3 times n is 3n plus 3 times 3 is 9. And again, I'm dropping down that 2. At this point, what can I combine? I could combine the positive 9 with the positive 2, giving me an answer of 3n plus 11. Box it up, and that is my final answer. Let's try number 2. We're going to identify our distribution first, apply that, so that we got negative 2 times x, negative 2 times positive 9, drop down that negative 13. I am multiplying those values, negative 2x minus 18, drop down that negative 13, and at this point, I'm combining my like terms. All right, number 3, I'm going to start off the same way. I'm going to be distributing 5 times 3y plus 5 times 2. Drop down that positive 2n. Deal with the distribution here. Drop down the 2n. And at this point, can I combine anything? No, there are no like terms, which means I am going to leave it alone. That is my final answer. Number 4, let's start with that distribution. drop that negative 4a down. And in this case, we can combine those a's, so I will, giving me a negative 15 plus 2a. Or I could write 2a minus 15 as my final answer. So when we are doing these types of questions, what I'm going to be looking for first is distribution. I'm going to distribute first, and then I'm going to look for my like terms, if any. So sometimes you're lucky and there are no like terms, so you're done. Let's take a look at page 2. So in this page, we have example 2. We're still doing the same thing. We're doing distribution and combining like terms, but this is our second level. So these are the more challenging types of questions that we might see. The first thing that we're going to look for is distribution. So let's find distribution in number 1. I see it there. How do I know that's distribution? Because I see parentheses around something. So I'm going to distribute that 3. So I am going to drop down this time 9 first and then do my distribution. I multiplied right away in this one. At this point, I'm going to see my like terms. And I get 3x plus 24. So let's do the same thing for number 2. I'm going to identify my distribution first. I see it right here. And you notice how I've been highlighting the sign of that 5. Very, very important. So I'm going to drop down the 3 and I'm going to distribute that negative 5. Don't forget, you're distributing that negative 5 times positive 2. That's how I got that negative 10. At this point, what are my like terms? Positive 3 with a negative 10, giving me my answer of negative 5n minus 7. I am putting the variable first. I want to have that variable first. Let's look at number 3. Identify your distribution first. I don't see a number in front of the parentheses. If I don't see a number in front of the parentheses, what number is hidden there? That invisible one. So I'm drawing that in so it's easy for me to see it. I know I need to distribute. So I'm going to drop down first that negative 3 from the front because nothing is going to happen with it until the very end. I'm going to distribute the negative 1 to 4, giving me a negative 4. I'm going to distribute negative 1 times negative 3a, giving me a positive 3a. So what are my like terms? Here, and again, I'm going to put the variable in front, the coefficient with the variable in front, and we got negative 7 in this case. So there's my final answer. Let's look at number 2. Identify your distribution first. Notice again, I'm taking that sign from that 2 negative. I know I need to distribute, so I'm going to start off by dropping down that 8x, and I have negative 2 times 3x, negative 6x. I have negative 2 times negative 4, positive 8. So what are my like terms? If I have any, and I do, 2x plus 8. Let's go down to the next few. So let's look at number 5. First thing I'm going to look for is my distribution. There's my distribution right there. So somewhere right in the middle. That means that 8x is going to be dropped down and that positive 2x is going to be dropped down as well. So let's see what we get in the middle. Okay, so I distribute that 3 to the 2x, giving me a negative 6x, that negative 3 to the negative 4, giving me a positive 12. And I'm going to make sure I drop down that 2x that was in back. Now at this point, let's identify our like terms. I have a few here. So all of these are my like terms. I'm going to combine them and I get 8 minus 6 is 2x. 2x plus 2x gives me 4x. Drop down the 12 because that wasn't going to be combined with anything. All right, number 6. So far so good. Look for your distribution first. That means that the 9 in front is going to be dropped down. So I am going to distribute the 3 to 7. Positive 3 times 7 is positive 21. Positive 3 times negative 2n gives me a negative 6n. And I am going to drop down the negative 8n. What are my like terms? I have 9 and the positive 21 and also my n's are like terms. I'm going to start off combining my n's first. That way I have it in the correct form. This would give me a negative 14n. And if I combine my constants, I get a positive 30. Box it up, and we're ready for the last two. So for number 7, identify your distribution first. I have distribution here, but also a distribution here. So this is a double distribution. So I'm going to start with the blue. Let's distribute that 2 to the 3y. 6y, distribute the 2 to the negative 4, negative 8. Now I'm going to do it again. Distribute the 2 to the 3, positive 6. Distribute the 2 to the negative y, negative 2y. So we had a double distribution there, and now at this point, let's look for our like terms. I have a y and a y, negative 2y, and I have an 8 and a 6, a negative 8 and a positive 6. So let's combine the y's first. And if I combine my constants, I get a negative 2. For number 8, last one, look for your distribution first. So I'm going to highlight. I see my distribution here, and I see my distribution here. So again, double distribution, but we do have extra pieces along the way. So I'm going to start dropping those things down. Let's start off by dropping down that 8y. I'm going to distribute that negative 2 to 3y, giving me a negative 6y. Distribute the negative 2 to negative 4, giving me a positive 8. Distribute the positive 2 to the 3, giving me a positive 6. Positive 2 times negative y, negative 2y. Drop down that negative 5y. And at this point, there's a lot of like terms, so let's identify them. And then we have my constants. So let's write our answer with the variable first. So we have 8 minus 6 gives us 2. 2 minus 2 gives us 0. And 0 minus 5 gives us negative 5. So negative 5y. And if I add 8 plus 6, I get positive 14. And there is my final answer. So let's see what my summary says. When asked to simplify an expression, we must first apply the distributive property. Once we apply the distributive property, we must combine any like terms. So sometimes I'm lucky and there are no like terms, but most often you will have some like terms to do. Very important, we want to always make sure to write our final answer in standard form. That means that we want the variable written first, followed by the constant. And that is how we were writing all of our answers. That's known as standard form. So keep learning, keep growing, and I will see you in our next video.